So I can't. Okay, so I'm stressed. Um, Before I moved here, I thought it was the animals. I thought it was, his triggers. They began to seize. At my mom's house, it was the animals at first, and then it wasn't the animals. And once his allergies start acting, his asthma start acting up, you know, and when I got this phone call from the shelter, all of that just, that wasn't the problem anymore. So now I'm at the shelter. They only, you have to eat at specific times, and it's like that with all shelters, obviously. But it's just some shelters would allow you to take stuff to your room. You know, some shelters would, but that's not the case here because it's a different type of shelter. The shelter that I was at, they had kitchen and stuff, all of that. So you can eat on your own time. You can do things on your own time personally. You can eat and do that stuff on your own time. Here is a whole different adjustment because it's just like my son only eats at certain times. You know, he eats when he's hungry. He don't eat at a specific time, and it's like, okay, you can say we eat at 5 o'clock, 5:30. My son won't eat at that time if he's not hungry. And that's what I try to get her to understand is that when he's hungry, you know. And then later on, you can't expect him to eat at this time because he may not be hungry. Just like you get hungry, but then that feeling, that hunger will cease. It'll go away. So it's kind of like tricking his brain in a way to thinking that I'm not hungry at this time, so I'm not going to eat. But you didn't eat before, you didn't eat breakfast, but he just knows he's not hungry. So when it's time to eat, he's hungry. I mean, when it's time to, when he's hungry, that's the time he eats. He doesn't go by, oh, this time I'm going to eat. No, he goes by his body. If his body is telling him he's hungry and he eats at that time specifically. But this is what they don't understand. When I first approached her, I'm like, do y'all deal with autistic kids? And she said, rarely, not really. And then she started going scientific, like, oh yeah, 1%, it's only 1 out of 3 kids, this, that, and the third, that'd be autistic or something like that. And I'm just like, I've been dealing with my son for a while. He's been in a whole autistic class. I've been dealing with autistic. This is his nature, and I'm trying to ask you, like, can he eat on the time that he's ready to eat? He won't eat if he's not ready to eat. But when he's ready to eat, he will eat. And she's just like, talk to your case manager in the morning about those special privileges. And I'm just like, he hasn't ate lunch. He hasn't ate breakfast. Yesterday he didn't eat dinner. He didn't eat lunch. No, he didn't eat dinner because we got here at dinner. So he didn't eat dinner, he didn't eat breakfast, he didn't eat lunch, and now he's not eating dinner. And you expect him to wait for breakfast so that he can eat when it's time to eat because you think that, oh yeah, since I haven't eaten, I'm going to eat now. No, it doesn't work like that. That's what I'm trying to tell her. It doesn't work like that, He eats when he's ready to eat. At that moment when he says, I'm hungry, that's time for him to eat. It's not about time, and it's not about waiting around like, oh yeah. He doesn't have that in his mind to where, oh, it's dinner time. Oh, I didn't eat breakfast time, so I'm going to eat lunch. Oh, it's lunch. I didn't eat lunch, so I'm going to eat breakfast. He doesn't go by that. He goes by his appetite. If he's hungry right then. If it's in the middle of if it's like late at night, it's like 9 o'clock, but I know he hasn't ate all day, he's not going to sleep if he's hungry. So therefore, I go down and I get him some food, or I have him snacking you know, I can at least offer him some type of snack when he's ready to eat so that he can go to sleep. I don't know how people eat on a, how people sleep on an empty stomach, because you can't sleep on an empty stomach. And even if he sleeps on an empty stomach and then he wakes up in the morning, that doesn't technically mean that he's going to eat. His mind can tell him he's not hungry. And that's what I need for her to understand, you know. And that's what she told me, to bring it up to my caseworker in the morning. But 9 times out of 10, I might have to go get him some snacks. We're locked in at this time because it's 6:30, so we can't go anywhere after 6:30. But I'm gonna have to get him some snacks, because obviously, if y'all can't understand my situation, y'all can't try to understand my son, then it's just like, I mean, this is at the same time it's pressuring me to get out of this situation, but at the same time, it's just like, if I'm worried about him, I can't really put all of my, I need to put all of my focus in one area. It's like, you gotta put all your bags and all your eggs in one basket, because that's where your attention is. You can't focus if you got eggs in this basket, eggs in this basket, eggs in that basket. No, you have to put all your eggs in one basket. Once that basket is full, you deal with that basket, and then you go on to the next basket. You know, so that's just what it is. And like I said before, you know, I'm here. Like, before, I was dealing with issues at my mom's house, and then he adapted there. As soon as we adapted there, we come here, and now we gotta adapt all over again. But it's to a situation where it's not on his time, when it's on his, when you're dealing with autism, it is on theirs. You know, so I'm gonna talk to her tomorrow, and I might just ask her to let up a little bit, because, you know, when it comes to autism, you have those special privileges, and I feel like my son or any child, you know, a parent dealing with autistic kids in the shelter should have some type of special privileges. And if not, then y'all need to make a shelter for autistic kids and not put them with regular kids. She was actually saying, you just smacked the phone on my hand, because she was actually saying, she was trying to compare my situation to another parent. She was like, yeah, this parent talking about, like, she feeds her kids sugar.
Aisha.
What?
Want to go home?
Yes. She was talking about how she feed her kids sugar all day, and I'm like, that's not, I mean, it's a whole different situation. Everybody's situation is different. You know, you can't compare me to her. And then she was talking about how, you know, this child can't sleep without Kool-Aid. This child can't sleep without Kool-Aid. Vontae, get over there. That's why you keep bumping your head. She was talking about how this kid can't sleep without Kool-Aid, and he needs Kool-Aid to sleep. And I'm just like, you know, why are you trying to still compare my situation with them? My situation is not the same as theirs. I'm talking about autism. I'm not talking about, you know, wants and what. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. And it's like, her comparing the situation is just kind of just throwing me off all the way. Like, and I'm just trying to tell her, autism is different than how kids grow up. That's their lifestyle. They grew up that way. So, of course, if a girl slept with her teddy bear for her whole life, and then she comes to a place where, oh, you can't sleep with teddy bears, of course that's going to be a problem. Of course they're going to adjust. But that is not autism. Autism is a whole different ballgame than that. Autism is a lifestyle. You know, they grew up that way, but this is his life. You know, and that's all I really need them to understand. So yeah. I'm gonna pray about it, you know, and hopefully they can shift something around there, because, like, you know, this is a whole different problem, a whole different situation, and, you know, I'm going to have to obviously find another shelter. You know, I'm going to have to do something. You know, I can tolerate some stuff, but this I won't be able to tolerate, because if you're not willing to understand or meet me halfway, then what are you really doing? Because they're not trying to understand. They're not trying to meet me halfway. They're trying to tell me this, that, and the third. Oh, yeah. You're trying to tell me about autism. You're trying to tell a mother with an autistic kid about autism, the facts and all this other stuff, and you don't even deal with autism. You know, I asked her, I'm like, have y'all dealt with autism? No, not really. Obviously, you don't even have experience. I'm right here, a mother with autistic kids, and you're trying to pull up factual information about how to deal with autistic kids. I'm a mother. So how are you going to try to tell me? You know? So, yeah, that's what I'm going through, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.